Hey, good afternoon. My name is Ken Brown. I'm fortunate enough to be here to host local sports with a good buddy of mine, Oz Jones.
That's right.
Oz, how's it go?
All right, just rolling with the punches.
Yeah, that's good. I'm glad to have you. On the local sports market this week, let's talk college football.
All right.
All right. Michigan Wolverines, they go down Indianapolis, I'm sure it was, and Big Ten championship game, and they give Purdue the business.
Yeah, I mean, at every turn this season, and primarily last season too, Michigan continues to prove that they're the cream of the crop now. Like it's been tough for me to buy in after the program was mired in mediocrity for quite a while, for a better part of a decade or more. But I mean, you and I were just talking before we came on about the transfer portal has really fed the bigger schools pretty much the talent that they want.
Yeah, they can get anybody at any given time. I can look for a specific position and say, you know what, I need a quarterback. Let me go into the portal and grab the best quarterback.
Yeah.
I think that their running game, though, has helped them to just translate into the winners that they used to be. You know, before Corum and then the kid Donovan. Donovan is his first name. Number 15, the running back. You know what I'm talking about?
The current running back?
Yeah, Edwards.
Yep.
Don Edwards. He looked good again. So I'm excited. You know, they got one. They get what they're Georgia, Michigan, TCU, and then Ohio State backdoors in.
Yeah.
So, what are your feelings about Ohio State making it?
I think they're gonna. I think they got in to get trounced by Georgia. That collapse against Michigan. I was watching that game, and it was funny because more than anything on the field I was seeing, because at the time I think it was within a field goal. I think Michigan was up by a field goal. But more than anything, it was the shots of the crowd where I was like, "Oh, Michigan's about to run away with this." They looked scared. Yeah. They looked like they were afraid they were going to lose. And that was interesting to see from a crowd there in Columbus, especially for that game. And then, that Edwards torched them. And that's the thing, like in football, you have to have a solid run game. Now, maybe if you're a high-octane offense and your passing game outstripes your running game, okay. But the running game has to be a functioning running game. No. I mean, we've seen how important that is in this town, or the lack thereof, in the years past.
Yeah, and I agree. I mean, like running the ball transcends, right? Like at 4 minutes left, you want to run the clock out. 6 minutes, you want to run the clock out. Just to establish the line of scrimmage, you want to be able to run the ball. So I think that's where Michigan has an advantage. The thing that scares me about Ohio State against Georgia is that their quarterback doesn't run like they used to in the past. So I think that can turn into something really ugly. And I'd rather it be a tight game so that Michigan has some film to look at and can say, okay, now we see how we can operate against Georgia. But no, hats off to Go Blue, right? Yeah, Go Blue, 2 years in a row, they make it into the Final Four, and now they're going to move it to a 12. So they should be able to make it moving forward, you would think, if they have decent enough teams. The other local team that did well this week, those Detroit Lions.
Yeah, and looking at I took a look at the standings last night. So they're sitting at 5-7. They likely have to run the board to make the playoffs. And the shame about it, and I mean, I've given the Lions plenty of guff on Sportsline. But the shame, 5 of their losses this year were one-score losses, and in some cases came down to the final drive. Yeah. Including the opening weekend against the Eagles, the game against the Dolphins, which they arguably should have won, the collapse in the fourth quarter against the Vikings.
The Bills, and they only lost by 3 against the Bills.
It's one of those things where it's like you want to give them some credit, but at the same time, no matter how you lost those games, you still lost them, and you are likely still not going to make the playoffs this year. Now, the last 3 games of the year, very winnable. They've got Carolina, followed by the Bears and Green Bay, 2 teams they've already beaten.
Yeah.
But 2 weeks prior to that, you've got the Vikings, which you had them. You had them early in the season, and you let it get away on the road. And then they've got the Jets. Now, the Jets, I think they've been better than people thought this year, but a winnable game too. So maybe. We'll see.
I think I see it with an opportunity that they'll make the playoffs. And I'm obviously a Cowboy fan.
Yeah.
But I can see that the Lions could go 5-1 and make the playoffs. I think the Jets could be a loss, right? But I was reading today that the Lions actually are like +1 right now, and they're thinking before Sunday that they're actually going to be the favorite, even though the Vikings will come in at 10-2 and the Lions will be 5-7. So there's more than us that thinks that the Lions have an opportunity to win this game.
Well, and it's outside of a few. They played a few bad games. I mean, the game against New England was a disaster. They lose 29-0. But I mean, the offense is clearly there, and the defense has come along. This is another one of those games for me as like someone who's grown up and rooted for Detroit teams his entire life, but you can only take so much punishment from one team.
Yes, sir.
But this is a game for me. It's like, all right, show me. Go win this game. Prove me wrong. They had them. They had them earlier in the season, and they let it get away. And I think if you're a professional athlete, that's in the back of your head going into that game. And you know your season's on the line.
Yeah.
You have any chance of making the playoffs, you have to win this game. And who knows? Maybe the Giants or some of those other teams that are in wild card spots, maybe they stumble down the stretch. The Giants haven't looked the same the last couple of weeks. So,
and the Lions have a tiebreaker against them. So I think it's a good opportunity for Detroit. And if they go 5-1 the rest of the way out, they will take a playoff spot. And you'll hear so much Lion talk around the water cooler around here. So no, I'm excited to see the finish of it. I'm excited.
Yeah, I hope they make it interesting. But I mean, they've pulled their Lions act too many times.
He's been burnt.
So,
He's been burnt too bad. He's
mean,
not going with it. What about some other downriver football news, right? They're coming out at the end of the season, as we know, during the Thanksgiving weekend. It was the big, all the state championship games down at Ford Field. So now you're coming with postseason conference winners, who won the conference. So we got some downriver kids that actually are playing in the Western Wayne Athletic Conference that got some honors for being all conference. So we want to just tell you a little bit about them. There's 5 players from downriver that actually made all Wayne County, Western Wayne County Athletic Conference. Melvindale, who finished 4th in that conference with a record of 3-4, had 3 players to make the all WWAC. The first would be Curtis Jackson. Curtis Jackson is a senior. He's all conference. And then we also got Donovan Baker. He made all conference as well. Now, I know Baker actually played defensive lineman. I've seen some film on him, and he was doing really well this year for them. And then the junior that made it was Jordan Jablonski. So congratulations to those guys for making all WWAC.
And you got Romulus here, who finished with a 2-5 record against their conference opponents. They tied for 5th place in the WWAC standings with Dearborn Heights Robichaux, who was also 2-5, and also Dearborn Heights Annapolis at 2-5. Earning all conference honors from the Eagles, senior Adrian Grisham, and sophomore Malik Lee.
All right. Looks like a bright future there for the Eagles. And that's how far this thing has gone. The weirdest part is Romulus, when I was playing high school football, was in our conference, SCC. Mm-hmm. So they would play Ann Arbor Huron, Ann Arbor Pioneer, Ypsilanti, Adrian. And now, fast forward 30 years, and they're considered downriver almost. And,
yeah,
and then they're in the Western Wayne Conference, so it's kind of wacky, right?
What's funny is if you've ever looked up downriver. Like if you Google it, and because there's actually like a Wikipedia page.
Okay.
It'll show you like there is like hard geographical borders, but obviously like colloquially we talk about downriver as being much larger than what it's considered geographically, which I mean that happens all the time.
No, it's funny. I never would have pictured it, but I guess so.
Where did you play high school ball at?
Ypsilanti.
played in Ypsi, huh?
Yeah, I'm from Ypsi, and we were the Braves at that time. Probably the greatest experience, high school experience for me, I mean, was high school football. Just getting to know 60 or 70 other kids. And, wanting to follow the tradition and things like that. So I think that Ypsi has a lot in common with Wyandotte, where it's a smaller town, right? But at the same time, you just take those things like football and Friday nights, you take it serious. And the kids growing up in the little Pop Warner League can't wait to get to the extra level or the high school level. So that's how my experience was.
What position did you play?
Defensive outside linebacker, so it was probably what they call it, defensive end at the time. And then on offense, I played tight end.
So you're playing both sides of the ball.
All day, yeah, and loved it, yeah. So it was cool in our town because right around now, you get the all SEC, you get the all area teams, and we would get it for Thanksgiving. So at that time, the newspaper was a big thing. So you're rushing to the the mailbox to see if the newspaper came and if you made all conference and stuff like that. So, no, it was a great setting for me to grow up. Not far from the University of Michigan. What is that? The Big House.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
What about girls basketball?
Girls basketball, we got a lot of scores girls basketball starting with Tuesday, November 29th. We had Divine Child, 65, 34, or 24 rather, against Woodhaven.
So Divine Child spanked Woodhaven a little bit, eh?
Yeah, and that's a trend in here. There's some lopsided and very low scoring games.
Yep.
A little bit of a tighter one. Fortson beat Allen Park 46-33. And then you had Flat Rock over Gibraltar Carlson 41-37.
Now, if I'm not wrong, I think that Gibraltar Carlson actually won the Downriver last year in girls basketball. So for them to lose to Flat Rock, that means Flat Rock might be trying to level the playing field for them. So that's good. Another game, Grosse Ile beat Trenton 26-21. And then Riverview wore out Wall Lake Central 60-29.
Yeah, double them up.
Yeah. And here's good news, right? Lincoln Park 51, Redford Union 15.
Oh, and I'll give a shout out here because one of the names highlighted, Isabel Bartel, scored a career high 32 points for the Rail Splitters. I know Isabel and her father. Her father used to be a member of the JCs.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, Aaron Bartel. He's been on Carolyn's show a number of times promoting as a Running to Honor charity. But yeah, Isabel, good kid, and she volunteered at the haunted house a time or two. So
all right, look at Isabel.
Basketball.
Isabel put up 32 out of the 51, so by herself she beat Redford Union literally by herself. And Lincoln Park is actually going to play Petersburg Summerfield this Thursday, I think. So she'll get a chance to best her career high. Good job, Isabel.
A couple more scores. Taylor High beats Westland John Glenn 38-8.
Ouch.
That you only make 4 buckets in an entire game.
They must have had a cover on top of that basket. There must have been some special thing where you have a cover on top of that basket if you get 8 points.
Let's go with that, and maybe the roster was decimated with the flu or something. That's a rough game. That's no fun to play in. And then Monroe Jefferson, which I'll admit to being it's high school's alma mater, right?
Yeah.
That's
yours?
Begrudgingly. 42-13 over Southgate Anderson.
Oh, well, the Jeffersonians, what's their nickname at
the Bears,
okay.
Actually, same as one.
Yeah. Well, Monroe Jefferson Bears actually put up big points against Southgate, so that's good to see for your alma mater. Yeah, look at them. You know, I think the thing that I learned even moving forward from that is that Taylor High School girls basketball, they actually, for the first time, have started out 3-0. 3-0 for the Griffins. So they won that game on the 29th, and then they won 2 more games. So now they're 3-0 and looking like the cream of the crop for downriver. So Bears, you better lace them up a little tighter, Lady Bears, because it looks like Taylor's trying to take downriver championship early.
What's next?
I think we should go to your forte.
We'll go to hockey?
There it is.
All right. A couple different leagues here. Detroit Catholic Central blanks Riverview Richard to earn the CHSL Bishop title. Let's go through a few things here. After getting through the first 2 rounds of the Catholic League playoffs earlier in the week, both Detroit Catholic Central and Riverview Gabriel Richard shared the ice at Yak Arena and wind out on Saturday for the CHSL's Bishop Division Championship. It's funny, I didn't know that hockey was so big in the Catholic schools.
Yeah.
Both teams took different paths to get the title bout. Catholic Central cruised to shutout wins over Dearborn Divine Child and Bloomfield Cranbrook Kingswood, winning by a combined score of 15-0. That's, you got your team clicking right when you're 15-0 over 2 games.
And that's 2 games, right.
Richard, meanwhile, had to grind out wins over Birmingham Brother Rice and Orchard Lake St. Mary's. In the game itself, aided by a 4-goal second period, the Shamrocks from Catholic Central proved once more why they are the top-ranked team in the state, defeating the Pioneers 6-0 on their home ice. The win gave Catholic Central, who's 7-0, its 3rd consecutive CHSL title, a stretch that began in 2019. There were no CHSL hockey playoffs in 2021 season, as there was an abbreviated hockey season altogether due to COVID. Overall, it was another convincing effort from the Shamrocks, who posted their 5th shutout of the season. That's some goaltending and commitment to defense right there.
Yeah, he's standing on his head. So they won. They're 7-0. So congrats for that, right? But of those 7 wins, 5 of them are shutout.
So either standing on his head or getting really cold, having no work back there because your defense is just running roughshod over the opposition, which is kind of what we saw. We covered last Wednesday's hockey game at the Yak between the Bears and Troy United.
Okay.
The Bears went on to win 8-0, which is if a team is leading by 8 goals at any point by the end of the second period, it's a mercy.
Okay.
So
they finish that period.
They will finish that period. Now, had the third period started, and let's say it was 7-0, as soon as that 8-goal cushion's there, game's over.
Okay.
Yeah.
So there is a time limit that's considered in the mercy.
Yeah, and once it got to 8-0 in the second, there was a runtime clock, kind of how they do in football when it's 35-0.
Gotcha.
Which I was on the commentary team, so it's kind of a letdown when you bother to do the setup and you're doing commentary on something you enjoy than to see a game like that. But on the plus side, the Bears are skating a pretty thin roster, just 11 skaters, not including their goaltenders.
How many are out there at a time?
So you've got your 3 forwards and your 2 defensemen, so you've got 5 skaters. So they're rolling 2 forward lines, 2 defense pairings. So plenty of ice time to be had, but Troy, also pretty inexperienced team. Don Glazer, who was broadcasting with me, had a chance to talk to their coach, and they had not just a number of new kids who'd never played hockey before, and it showed. They were disorganized, and the Bears, to their credit, even being undermanned themselves, because I think Troy was skating 18 kids, so 18, 11, you don't know anything about hockey. 11 skaters is not a lot of skaters. In hockey, you're typically rolling 4 forward lines, 3 skaters each, and then 3 defense pairings of 2 defensemen each. So basically, they're missing half their forwards and a third of the defensemen. But they're impressive in the way they played that game. Basically, they dominated every side of the ice.
So you're piquing my interest with this, right? So the Wyandotte won 8-0, right? How many shots would you say that they took to get 8?
It wasn't even a terribly large amount of shots. There were a couple of really bad goals. Like if you watch the game, you even hear me on commentary where my reaction was, there's some bad goals. And really, most of them I wouldn't fault the goaltender on. There may have been a few, but the defense was sloppy in front of him.
So he couldn't see the puck. They're hiding the puck behind other skaters. That's what you mean by the defense is kind of sloppy.
No, I mean they were just giving the puck away. They were not taking the body. They were not getting sticks in lanes. Not a lot of active stick work. Wyandotte was essentially just kind of running roughshod. Yeah. First period I think was, what was it, 3-0, and then the second period, the wheels just came off. But a couple of players that really stood out for Wyandotte were the captain, I believe is senior Will Heskett, and then forward number 6 Ballantyne. He was all over the ice, penalty kill, power play, even strength, and he had himself a couple of goals. So nice to see the Bears get that win because, against some of the stronger teams, they've struggled because of their lack of skaters. So,
yeah, I think it was interesting for me to see that they called Yak Arena Riverview's home arena during, talking about that Catholic League.
Yeah.
So there must be a lot of teams that share Yak as their home arena.
Yeah.
The other part about it made me think, what is it that the Riverview coach, he said that he likes to play a tough schedule because at the end of the year it'll pay dividends.
Yeah.
So him losing 7-0 is not a big deal for him because he knows that down the line that's just going to make his team stronger.
Yeah. Yeah, I think you want to balance. I mean, you don't want to play a bunch of teams that you're just smacking around because what are your kids learning?
Yeah.
What's your program getting for that? On the other side of it, you don't want to always be playing games where you're just being demoralized.
Yeah.
So you want to have a good competitive balance. But yeah, there's plenty of games there because before the Bears game, while we were setting up all the equipment, there was a game between Gabriel Richard and St. Mary's Catholic Central going on. And boy, there's some hockey players that are going to have to go to confession for some of the language I heard coming from those benches.
No, I'm sure it gets competitive and the spirit gets in there.
Oh,
and
yeah.
those kids almost lose their religion a little bit. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, that's good. So, no, it sounds good that the Bears have a good team. We're looking forward to some, you say what do you get from beating someone 7-0 is confidence, right? So you get your confidence rolling a little bit. I agree that you don't want to just always win 8-0.
Yeah.
You want to have a balance, but it also gets those young teams some confidence as they move into the season as well.
Well, and they've got a new coach. I don't know if he's new this year or last year, but
DeSlana.
yeah, kind of trying to build the program back up. So it looks like even though they don't have a lot of kids, they got a good crop of kids. Hopefully, get some other kids interested. I mean, because you're talking about a program that a little more than a decade ago won a state championship and produced an NHL player.
Okay.
So,
now, I knew about the state championship because I passed that road in the way to town every day.
Yeah.
But I didn't know that a guy actually from that team made the NHL.
Gerald Mayhew, who was in on Bears Den back in the summer just before training camp started. Yeah, he was kind of a fixture in the AHL for a number of years. I think he even won league MVP a few years back. And then he's played with the Wild, got some time with the Flyers last year, then I think was placed on waivers, went to the Ducks, and currently he's got a contract with the Florida Panthers.
All right. Look at the Bears. All right. What else we got here, Joe? We got Caroline was talking about this. I'm not.
Yeah, so
Some more hockey.
Yeah, so this was a tournament, I believe, over Thanksgiving weekend. The Carlson skates to Jaguar Thanksgiving Classic Championship. Just a few points in here. Both teams won their respective semifinal games the day prior. Carlson eked out a 1-goal win over rival and tournament host Allen Park. And then they faced off against Divine Child, who cruised to a 6-goal victory over Kalamazoo United. Big lead early was more than enough cushion for Carlson to pick up a 7-1 win and its second consecutive championship trophy from the tournament.
All right. And it looks like Carlson stayed hot as well. They played, after winning that Thanksgiving tournament, they played Cabrini and beat them 4-1 on December 1st. Allen Park lost to Grand Rapids Christian 6-1. Wyandotte actually beat Grand Rapids Christian 4-3, and then Trenton beat the brakes off of Woodhaven 8-0. And then this Wednesday, if you want some good hockey, some good downriver local hockey, you got Wyandotte versus Ann Arbor Pioneer, and that's going to be at 6:30 on Wednesday. Are you guys doing that game by chance, or is that away?
We're not doing it. I'm not sure if it's home or away.
Okay, I got you.
Now, you had told me before your son got into hockey last year or so?
Yeah, last year through Detroit Pal, they actually do a beginner hockey thing, and they're getting kids into it. So this is his second year. Mm-hmm. He enjoys the skating part. I think if he was to play any position right now, he likes goalie.
Oh, okay.
And I told him you can get free ice time as long as you can strap up really well. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, they say you got to be a little crazy to be goalie.
I think he qualified. Nick qualifies. Yeah, he's a little crazy.
Now, is he watching hockey?
He does watch. He watches a little hockey. He definitely prefers to skate and play more than watch it. And I'm kind of telling him, like, you can pick up the game. That is probably the better way to pick up the game because you can find the rules. But he's young. He's kind of surfing through. He's also doing basketball, so that's why that Wyandotte youth basketball is a great thing that's happening in this community. But no, I enjoy it. It's a little chilly in there, but I definitely love watching them skate and go at it. Yeah. And they normally go to Far East Side, it's Grosse Pointe, where they skate at.
Okay.
But no, we got like 2 minutes.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. So we'll wrap it up. Ken, why don't you take us out? I don't steal your thunder.
No, man. Thanks a lot for coming and watching local sports. I appreciate Oz Jones jumping on. You can get at us at localsports at Gmail if you want anything you want to tell us about your kids. And then we'll see you next week.
I'll be here.
All right. Thanks.